On the night of March 12, 2023, a 26-year-old woman named Jessica agreed to meet a man she had been talking to on Tinder for 2 weeks. By 11:47 p.m. that same night, she was running barefoot through the streets, convinced she was about to die. This is her story. What started as an ordinary date at a downtown restaurant quickly turned into one of the most terrifying nights of her life. The man sitting across from her seemed normal at first, polite, charming. But by the end of the night, Jessica realized something was very, very wrong, and by then, it was almost too late. This is a true story. Names have been changed to protect the people involved. If you're listening alone at night, you might want to turn on the lights. Jessica had been single for about 8 months after a difficult breakup with her ex-boyfriend of 3 years. She wasn't looking for anything serious. She just wanted someone to talk to. Maybe grab dinner with someone who could make her laugh again. That's when she matched with a guy named Ryan on Tinder. Ryan's profile seemed completely normal. He was 29 years old, worked in marketing, and had a golden retriever. His photos showed him hiking in the mountains, sitting in a coffee shop with a book, and smiling with friends at what looked like a barbecue. Nothing unusual, nothing that raised any red flags. His bio was short and simple. It said, "Looking for good conversation and better coffee." Jessica thought it was cute, simple, not trying too hard, so she swiped right. They matched instantly. Ryan sent the first message within minutes. "Hey, Jessica, I saw you're into true crime podcasts. Have you listened to the new season of Serial?" She smiled. He had actually read her profile. That was rare. They started talking. At first it was casual, small talk about work, favorite movies, weekend usual plans. Stuff. But after a few days, Ryan became different, more attentive. He'd text her good morning every single day, ask how her meetings went, remember small details she'd mentioned in passing, like the name of her coworker who annoyed her, or the fact that she was trying to cut back on coffee. Jessica found it sweet. Her ex had barely remembered her birthday. Ryan felt different, thoughtful, present. After 2 weeks of messaging back and forth, Ryan suggested they meet in person. He picked a popular Italian restaurant downtown, a place called It was public, well lit, always Jessica busy. Felt comfortable with that. She agreed. She told her best friend, Emma, where she'd be, and promised to text her by 10 p.m. Emma made her promise. "If I don't hear from you by 10, I'm calling the cops," Emma said, half joking. Jessica laughed it off, but she promised anyway. On the night of March 12th, Jessica stood in front of her bathroom mirror, applying the final touches of her makeup. She put on a black dress. Nothing too fancy, but nice enough for a first date. She checked her phone. 7:02 p.m. The reservation was at 7:30. She called an Uber. As the car pulled up to the restaurant, Jessica felt her stomach tighten with nerves. It had been a long time since she'd been on a real date. She took a deep breath, paid the driver, and stepped out onto the sidewalk. The restaurant was warm and inviting, soft lighting, the smell of garlic and fresh bread. She walked inside and scanned the room, and then she saw him. Ryan was already there, sitting at a corner table near the back. He stood up when he saw her, smiled, and walked over to pull out her chair. "Jessica, you look amazing," she smiled. "Thanks. You too. So far, so good." They sat down. A waiter came by and asked if they wanted drinks. Jessica ordered a glass of red wine. Ryan ordered water. Jessica noticed that. "You don't drink?" she asked. Ryan shook his head. "Not anymore. Bad habit I kicked a few years ago." She respected that. It made him seem mature, responsible. The conversation flowed easily at first. They talked about their jobs. Jessica worked in graphic design, Ryan said he worked in digital marketing for a tech startup. They talked about their families. Jessica mentioned her younger brother who was in college. Ryan said he was an only child. They talked about places they wanted to travel. Jessica said she'd always wanted to go to Italy. Ryan said he'd been to Rome once and loved it. He was charming. He made eye contact, laughed at her jokes, asked follow-up questions. Everything seemed perfect, but then small things started to feel off. About 20 minutes into the date, Ryan leaned back in his chair and said something that made Jessica's blood run cold. "You take the same route to work every day, right? Down Maple Street, past the coffee shop on the corner." Jessica froze. She stared at him. She had never mentioned her route to work. She had never even mentioned where she worked. "How do you know that?" she asked, trying to keep her voice light, trying not to sound accusatory. Ryan smiled. "You mentioned it, remember?" She didn't. She was sure she didn't, but she'll let it go. Maybe she had said something and forgotten. Maybe she was over. She forced a smile and took a sip of her wine. But her hands were shaking. Then it happened again. A few minutes later, Ryan brought up her dog. "How's Charlie doing, by the way? Still chewing up your shoes?" Jessica's stomach dropped. She had never mentioned her dog's name, not once. She had posted a photo of Charlie on Instagram 2 months ago, but her Instagram was private. And she definitely hadn't accepted Ryan's follow request. She'd checked. "Ryan," she said slowly, her voice barely above a whisper, "I never told you my dog's name." He didn't miss a beat. He smiled again. That same calm, easy smile. "Sure you did. Last week, you sent me a picture, remember?" She hadn't. She was absolutely certain she hadn't. Jessica's hands started to shake. She picked up her phone under the table and opened her messages with Ryan. She scrolled back through every single conversation. There was no picture of Charlie. No mention of Maple Street. Nothing. She looked up at Ryan. He was still smiling, but now, the smile looked different, wider. Too wide. Like it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I think I need to use the restroom," Jessica said, standing up quickly. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor. A few people at nearby tables glanced over. "Of course," Ryan said, his voice calm and steady. "I'll be right here." Jessica walked quickly toward the back of the restaurant, her heart pounding in her chest. She found the bathroom, locked the door behind her, and immediately pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped it. She called Emma. Emma picked up on the second ring. "Hey, how's it going, Em?" "Something's wrong," Jessica whispered, her voice trembling. "I never told him. My dog's name, my route to work. I don't know how, but he knows." There was a pause on the other end. Then Emma's voice came back, sharp and serious. "Get out of there, right now. Don't go back to the table. Just leave. But my purse is still at the table." "Jessica, leave. I'm calling you an Uber right now. It'll be there in 3 minutes. Go out the back exit if there is one." Jessica hung up. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She opened the bathroom door slowly and peeked out. The hallway was empty. She could see the back exit sign near the kitchen, glowing red in the dim light. She started walking toward it. Her heels clicked softly on the tile floor. And then she heard footsteps behind her, slow, deliberate. "Jessica." She froze. She turned around. Ryan was standing at the end of the hallway, hands in his pockets, head tilted slightly to one side. "Where are you going?" he asked. His voice was calm, too calm. I'm not feeling well," she stammered. "I think I need to go home." Ryan took a step closer. "You didn't even say goodbye." "I'm sorry. I've been waiting for this night for a long time, Jessica." Her blood went cold. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Ryan smiled again, that same too wide smile. "I've been watching you for months." Jessica felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "I know where you live," he continued, taking another step forward. "I know where you work. I know you go to the gym every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. I know you get coffee at the same place every morning. I know everything about you." Jessica's legs felt like they were going to give out. You're crazy," she whispered. Ryan shook his head slowly. "No, I'm just dedicated." And then he took another step forward. Jessica didn't think. She turned and ran. She burst through the back exit into a narrow alley. It was dark, cold. The smell of garbage and wet pavement hit her immediately. She could hear Ryan's footsteps behind her, fast, heavy, getting closer. She kicked off her heels and ran barefoot down the alley, her phone clutched in her hand. The pavement was rough and cold under her feet. She could feel small rocks cutting into her skin, but she didn't stop. She could see the main street ahead. Cars, people, lights. "Jessica," Ryan shouted behind her. "I just want to talk." She didn't stop. She ran harder. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed. But she kept running. She reached the main street and stumbled onto the sidewalk. People turned to look at her. Barefoot, dress torn at the hem, mascara running down her face. "Help," she screamed. "Someone help me." A couple stopped. A man in his 40s stepped forward. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice full of concern. Jessica turned around. Ryan was standing at the mouth of the alley, watching her. He didn't come any closer. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, smiling, and then he turned around and walked away. Slowly, calmly, like nothing had happened. The man pulled out his phone and called the police. Jessica sat on the curb, shaking, while they took her statement. She told them everything, the date, the things Ryan knew, the chase. The officers took her seriously. They asked for Ryan's Tinder profile. Jessica pulled it up on her phone with trembling hands. It was gone. The entire conversation had been deleted. His profile didn't exist anymore. It was like he had never been there. One of the officers looked at her. "Do you have his phone number?" Jessica checked. The number was disconnected. "Ma'am," the officer said carefully, "do you have any proof this person exists?" Jessica stared at him. She had nothing. No screenshots, no photos, nothing. The officers told her to file a report anyway. They said they'd look into it. But Jessica could see it in their eyes. They didn't believe her. Emma picked her up 20 minutes later. Jessica didn't say a word the entire ride home. She just stared out the window, replaying everything in her head. When she got home, she locked every door, every window. She checked the locks 3 times, and then she saw it. On her kitchen counter, a single red rose and a note. It said, "See you soon." Jessica called the police again. They came to her apartment, took the note, dusted for fingerprints. Nothing. No prints. No DNA. No trace. She stayed with Emma for 2 weeks. She changed her phone number, deleted all her social media, stopped going to her usual coffee shop, her usual gym, her usual route to work. She never saw Ryan again, but 6 months later, she got a message on LinkedIn. It was from a blank profile. No name, no photo, just a message. It said, "I'm still watching." Jessica reported it. LinkedIn removed the account, but the damage was done. To this day, Jessica doesn't use dating apps. She doesn't post on social media. She changes her routine constantly. She never walks alone at night, because she knows he's still out there. And she knows he's still watching. This is a true story. If you or someone you know has experienced something similar, please reach out to local authorities or a trusted support network. Stalking is a serious crime. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Subscribe for more untold stories. And remember, not every match is what it seems.